October 18th, regular meeting on October 18th, 2021.
Thank you, Mr.
I'll second.
Ross. Thank you, Mrs. Pavlik. Any questions or comments? Or alterations? No, everything looked good. Hearing none, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Thank you.
And before you tonight is the agenda that's been prepared by the administration. And are there any additions, removals, or modifications or things on the agenda the board would like to have separated out? Hearing none, if you want to make a motion, we can approve the agenda.
Make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Second. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Any questions from the board on the agenda? Hearing none, if you could please call roll.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Sable?
Good evening. I'd also like to welcome everybody here tonight. We have a great presentation celebrating some of the things that are going on in our district, as well as celebrating our veterans from this past Veterans Day. Before we get into those items, I'd like to take a moment to congratulate the success of some of our extracurricular activities from this past fall. Despite all the barriers with the COVID, our students have been doing an outstanding job out on the field. Both our boys and girls soccer teams had difficult ends to their season, but did advance within the playoffs. Our cross-country teams were strong down in Columbus, and this is despite obstacles with the very difficult loss of Coach Milt at the beginning of the season, and those boys bonded together and ran hard. In addition to that, our football team is continuing on in the state playoffs, moving on to the highest level that they've been within the playoffs, looking at an exciting game coming up this next coming week. In addition, our band competed down in Columbus and earned the highest rating and honors, which seems to be a consistent thing for our students in the marching band. And the last thing that I want to mention as well is our drama club. And if you didn't get the opportunity to go and see the Addams Family musical, you missed out, because it was an outstanding show and very funny. And just the level of talent, whether it's the arts, whether it's athletics, or whether it's academics, is just outstanding in our district. And seeing the show this weekend, it just blows me away, the way our students can sing and act. I think the trees were maybe my favorite in the show. But not just that, it makes me realize the work that we still need to do as a school district to expand some of those programs and look at things like a drama program here at the high school with the facilities we have and to support the kind of talent we have amongst our students. But we're very fortunate to see the continued success of our students despite the obstacles and the support that they've seen by their families and by their teachers and all the educators that are around them as well. So I wanted to congratulate them and wish our football team continued success as they continue in the playoffs. I'm going to switch things around a little bit here in terms of my presentation. I do have two presentations tonight. The first is Veterans Day, and I'm going to swap that because I think we're doing a little organizing and coordinating with the presentations, and we'll start off with our facilities presentation. So I want to welcome Bob Whitaker. Bob Whitaker is our interim director of facilities. So he's been filling in since John's retirement, and he's going to present the annual summer project update to let the board know all the great work that happened over this past year. Thank you.
Thank you. Would be lying if I told you that I don't have to follow the speakers behind me right here. I know there's a lot of hard work, and I heard a lot of good things about these projects, so I'm glad to be the lead-off, the opening act tonight. I tried to take the highlights from our summer and put them in a little PowerPoint here to show you some things, and hopefully maybe I can teach you some of the things that I've learned so far working in this position about the jobs that have gone on over the course of the summer. First of all, roofing. We have already started the roofing project conversations for next year. I believe you'll be talking about that a little bit later on. It's extensive, and roofs this year actually came in a little bit over budget. But we were able to get everything done. We were able to make sure that everything is safe. You can see the additional fireproofing that we added up there at the top there. And I learned that happens when we move too many things around on the roof as we're adding things on, and it knocks the fireproofing loose. So we have to add that to make sure that the buildings are soundproof and still safe. Next. Here's a picture of a couple of the roofs. I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to get up there and take a peek at them. Mr. Mishler has been running me ragged, getting up there and crawling out those little tiny hatches on the Root Middle School roof so you can see the work that's been done. The Canavan piece right there gives us the opportunity to see some of the electrical work that goes along with it. When we put a roof up there, it's not just the roof. There's a lot of insulation that has to go into it, and then we have to work around some of the existing structures that are up there. And those long electrical lines on Canavan's roof are leading to the next section that we'd like to do coming up this summer. Roofing is a continual process. It's not something that you can just do and then it'd be done with. There's a lot of pieces and parts to it, and the roofs are gigantic. I have not even finished going around on the high school roof. This is the Board of Education roof. We had some work done, and we're really, I think the building looks very professional now. The siding work contributes a lot to it, and I understand that my office was a shower last year, and it is no longer a shower. The roof has been repaired, so we're pleased with that. This is the high school roof. Again, this is just a couple of the sections that we did get done this year. And by the time, Steve told me by the time we get finished hitting everything again, we'll be coming back and adding to these places on the roof just because of the wear and tear. They're in, obviously, the elements all the time. And we patch them when we can, but we want to make sure that we're maintaining a safe structure underneath for all the work that's going on in the classrooms. Paving and concrete. I tried to find some really good pictures for this and make it interesting. It's just paving and concrete. We have some, I added a picture today though, so hopefully that'll add to it here. On the next slide there, you'll see down at the bottom that there was some work done at the transportation department that did not come out of the 5-year plan general funds. That came from the transportation budget. But the paving and concrete actually came in a little bit under budget. One of the reasons we're hitting the roofing so early this year, or trying to get to it so early this year, is because of projected issues with the supply chain. We read about it all the time in the paper, but it will affect us in one way or the other, so we're trying to get a jump on that a little bit and have conversations with some of the roofers. We actually have a meeting Wednesday, I believe, to take a look at one of the roofs, just try and find an alternative way to fix it and get it done, because there's some different things that need to be fixed on that roof, and we hope to be able to address that. There's Blake, and then there's the high school parking lot. We did pay for the painting on the Blake parking lot. I believe the seniors did the painting on the high school lot. So it really does look good, and from what I understand, I remember being here for a softball tournament, there were pillars or something sticking out of the ground down there, and those were all ground down, and then you can park cars there without having to worry about taking out a bumper or a spoiler. ESSER funds. These are the funds the elementary and secondary school emergency relief. I'll rely on Mr. Chambers for that because I may have messed that up, but we use those to repair heating and cooling components for the buildings. $743,000, almost $744,000 went into it to make the buildings comfortable for the students. We all know when it's hot, it's hard to learn, and we've tried to address that as best we can. A couple of ways we did that. Rooftop units that you can see here at Canavan, those are on several of the buildings. And then at Claggett, we put in these move and cools, which are a classroom-based mobile unit. And they do work pretty well. So it's a nice, nice addition here. This is my wife's classroom, so I would have heard about it if it didn't. So I put that picture in there. Windows and doors. Again, just trying to make sure that maintain the integrity of the entryway to the buildings. $44,000 went into that this year. Classroom furniture. We just received, again, supply chain issues. Last Thursday, we received the high school's chairs. They are up here. They're being ready to be installed in the classrooms. Claggett and Fenn also received some new classroom furniture, and I believe that's an item we're going to try to take a look at adding to, just so that we can bring all the buildings in the district just up to the expectations of the community. Food service. Did several things. The picture there, that is a combi oven, in case you don't know, and those are going to be installed over Christmas break. Those are the latest additions to our food service program. We also added a new serving line and cafeteria tables. I believe we put all new cafeteria tables in at Root. In the PAC, we worked on some lighting. There'll be some more work going on at the PAC in the future too. Flooring, another component. Some of the flooring that went in this past year, I believe, was carpeting. Some of the flooring that we're going to be putting in the future is going to be the tile floors. They're easier to clean. It's something we're hoping we might be able to use some of our ESSER monies to update some of the areas, especially if we have any of the clinics that have carpets. That's not a good combination, elementary school especially. Miscellaneous items that I pulled from our five-year plan. Claggett had some lockers painted. They look amazing. We'll show you a picture of that shortly. The sound system over at Duke's is much better than what we had before. My understanding is we didn't have much sound on the visitors' side. We have 2 kilns. We're, again, waiting for supply chain to bring the kilns to us. Last we heard they were waiting on a dock in Chicago, but we're hoping to have those soon. Medina High School, we put in some new trees, and 4 of the new trees have already been introduced to the deer population in Medina. And they are rubbed. I think they're going to live, but they're right in the middle of the parking lot. So we'll have to check the security cameras on that vandalism there. And then our radios were converted to a digital format this year, so we can communicate with county emergency services and other places. I think that added to the distance as well as the reliability of the radios. These are the lockers at Claggett. The floors look great in that building too. It's an older building. It's amazing what a fresh coat of paint will do. Over at the rec center, a lot of items that deal with pools. We'll be hearing some more about that later on when we, not tonight, but later on when we take a look at some of the items that we need to update over there. The heat exchangers, the playground, and water features. Those are just, again, make it a better experience for community members and students that go over there. And Medina Rec Center, 50% of the responsibility for payment is with the city because it's a shared responsibility. And then last but not least, our surprise projects. There's always something that comes up. And second or third game of the season, we had an issue with our lights. They went out in the middle of the game, and that little tiny scrape there in front of the pen is what shut down the lighting system inside that pole. But even the lack of power and lights didn't stop the mighty bees. So let's go Friday or Saturday, whenever they play. I can't remember. So that's all I've got. Any questions?
Thank you so much. I wondered if you could go back to the slide that had Canavan. I think it was the first or second slide. I just wanted to understand, because the way the picture was and it had the wiring, if one end is the far end, the part of the roof that's been done, and then this, or how it...
No, the part in the middle, the gray part, what they do is they lay, it's like a rubberized rubber piece that goes over top of it, and then there's a coating that goes over it. That's the brand new part. The part in front is what the back part looks like. The back part is in worse shape than the front right now, and that's what we're going to address next year. And that's toward, the playground is back toward that direction right now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. We appreciate just being able to see the progress this year and the way you've summarized this for us. It's very helpful, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Skidmore, I also just wanted to add, the ESSER funds that were used for the air conditioning, that is great, because I think when I first came on the board 6 years ago, we were told it was going to be like $2 million to get air conditioning, I believe at Fenn alone. So just the fact that we were able to figure out what we could do to get that in our buildings, not have to spend that amount of money, is fantastic. So I'd like to thank everyone for that.
I agree, and it was more or less found money. You know, of course, the pandemic is a horrible thing, but the fact that these funds came through for things like this type of project, and I agree with you. I'm glad that we were able to use those funds effectively for the classroom and to help with circulation and things like that. And again, some of the fixes I think were not to the extent of putting brand new systems in. Some of them were the units that could be moved and so forth, but I know the district spent a lot of time thinking through that carefully to make sure in case buildings might need to have improvements in the future, that those funds are used effectively. So we thank everybody for their thoughtfulness with that. Thank you.
And at this time, I would like to invite our American Legion 202 up to the podium to share a few words. We are fortunate to have them collaborating with our middle school social studies classes in recognizing our veterans and writing essays for an essay contest. And this partnership is very important to us as a school district because as we're trying to work with the community to instill values in our students, these types of collaborations play a vital role in doing that.
Well, board members, thank you very much for the inviting the American Legion Post 202 in Medina, which is the oldest veterans organization in Medina County. It was formed in 1919. Give us the opportunity to be judges once again. Most of our judges, and we had a lot of them, but they're out of town on business or other commitments, but we are happy to do this once again. And I must admit, with all the judges, I'm standing up there trying to coordinate this. There were some essays we read that were tough. Lump in our throat, maybe a tear in our eye. So these students here get it, and so do all the others that submitted their speeches. We really enjoyed it. So with that, we'll start in the first one here. This is my boss here. And audio, man, if you could up the sound a little bit for the students, I'd appreciate that. And the first one is Ella James from AI Root, 7th grade. She was 3rd place. Ella, come on up here. I've told these students, just kiss the mic and take your time. If you can take your thing off. And nice and slow, okay? We're in no rush. They don't mind if you talk all night, okay?
What does Veterans Day mean to me? Every year we set aside a day to recognize the men and women that have served our country. This day is called Veterans Day. It is very important for all of us to take this day to show our appreciation for those who have made the commitment to serve our country. For they gave us freedom, peace, and security in our own nation. One day is not enough to recognize your sacrifices. I thank you, veterans, every single day. When I think of Veterans Day, I think of all of the brave, strong, and willing soldiers that have fought and protected our nation. I think of all the soldiers that have sacrificed their lives. I also think of the ones that have gotten wounded in battles. Not only are these wounded physically, but they are also mentally as well. These great men and women went into battle and risked their lives, fully aware of the possible consequences. They left their families knowing they may never return, never to see their loved ones again. But despite that, they still served and risked their lives for all of us. In conclusion, on this Veterans Day, honor and thank a veteran. Their commitment to serve us has given us security and provided us with our freedom. Thank them for all that they did for us. Thank them for their bravery, their courage, and all of their sacrifices. Thank you for defending our freedom. We salute you.
Ella, I'm going to present you your certificate, and inside there, there are cash awards as well, provided by an anonymous person, and we're very happy that you did what you did, okay? God bless you. Next was second place for the 7th grade, and this is, I hope I pronounced it, Dublin Alt. Did I say that right? Come on up here. Second place from Claggett Middle School. Right up here. Take your time, okay?
Hi, I'm Dublin Alt. I wrote this poem that I would like to share with you, entitled Remember. Remember when you weren't here? Remember when you were over there? Over across the sea, thousands of miles away. You missed my soccer game, but I knew you wouldn't make it. So it was fine. I was fine. Remember when Mom always seemed to be sad? When she was around the other parents, moms and dads, together? She said she was fine, but I knew she wasn't. Remember when you came home? I was so excited. I remember even the dog was jumping up and down. You walked in the door, and Mom started crying. So did I. Remember when you were here? I wrote this poem from the perspective of a woman whose father has passed away. In the poem, this woman is remembering the time when her father was serving in the military. Veterans Day to me is a day to remember and appreciate not only the people who served in the military, but their families. I believe that not only have the veterans of our country suffered, but so have their families. Their families have to live through hope and mystery. They have to hope that their loved one is safe. They don't know where they are, when they're coming home, or even when they can call them next. The families don't even know what time it is wherever their family members are throughout the world. They don't know anything. Veterans Day to me is a day to remember, a day to cry, a day to laugh, a day to sing, a day to dance. All that matters is that you do it with your family and the people that love you, people that want to know where you are and what you're doing, people you'll always remember. Thank you.
I'll have to watch for the taller students. Don't use this so you're closer to the mic, okay? We'll get this figured out. See what I mean about these things, these essays? Try judging them. We had to read 363 of them. Okay. For first place in 7th grade is Stella Allen from Claggett Middle School. Stella, is she here? Right here, Stella. Let me see. Okay, you'll do without that. Just a mic.
Whenever I think of Veterans Day, my mind is always filled with the same images. Black and white pictures of grandpas and great-grandpas, giant gray ships and jeeps. However, one of my favorite visions is not even my own. My father once told me a simple story that I feel truly shows the importance of the honor that our veterans deserve. He was at a Veterans Day parade a long time ago. It was a typical small-town parade with shiny cars bumper to bumper filled with waving veterans. However, something was wrong. The parade of cars seemed to end. There was a huge gap in the middle of the parade. Looking down the street, my father could only make out a small figure leading the rest of the parade. A very old, very wrinkled man came with a cane walking by, taking his time. To his surprise, the crowd was absolutely ecstatic. The old man proudly wore his military uniform as he smiled and waved to the crowd. A shiny car with no passengers followed slowly behind, then followed by a line of marching bands, policemen, and fire trucks. Even though this tired old vet could have ridden in a luxurious car provided with his own name printed proudly upon it, he chose to walk on his own 2 feet. Even though he held up the entire parade, no one who attended that day was angry. People cheered him on and gladly gave a few more minutes of their time for the years of sacrifice he gave to this country years before. When my father told me this story, it really impacted me. It showed me how much it means to a veteran when you let them know that you honor and respect them for all that they have done for our country. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the 6th grade, and for the second place winner, Samantha Allen from AI Root. Let's see, I don't think, you don't need to use this either. Can you take a minute? Okay.
Why Veterans Day means something to me. I always thought that Veterans Day meant that you celebrate what veterans have done, but I realize it's much more than that. It's a way to honor those who risk their lives. Veterans help and protect our country and help and protect us. As they are one of the biggest reasons as our home feels safe every day. We go to bed knowing that a veteran has protected this country to make your home feel safe from harm. Though my grandpa never talked about his time in the military, my mother has told me things about what he did. For example, he fixed ships. He fixed ships, and he was a veteran in the Korean War. He did not talk about these things. He never talked about these things. I think they made him sad. When I was 5 or 7, and he got out a towel. This is how they taught us to fold a towel in the military. And he said this with so much pride, as he showed us the step-by-step on how to fold a towel. Oh, now, he was a rather happy man, and though he did not talk much about his time in the military, he still helped people. Just the thought that he was willing to risk everything, including his life, makes me proud of him. My grandpa makes my heart happy, and I am glad to share his story with all of you. And I hope you feel the same way I do, which is that we need to appreciate veterans for all they have done.
So we will jump around a little bit because not all the students could make it tonight. But they will be given their awards. Okay. The next one is the first place winner for 6th grade. Did I say it? Macy? Macy, come on up here. From Claggett Middle School. Macy, and how do you pronounce your last name, honey?
Ty.
Ty, Macy Ty, okay? Nice and slow. Into the mic.
When people think of Veterans Day, they might think of a person who has served in the military, but it's more than that. It's a day on which we should take time to thank the men and women who have defended our country since its beginning. We should never take them for granted. Every year on November 11th, our nation comes together to thank and remember the soldiers who have fought for, died for, and risked their lives to keep our country free. My great-grandpa Al and Grandpa Ted fought in World War II, and I especially think of them on this day. I'm so proud to have members of my family who are veterans. It's a big commitment to be a veteran. Men and women leave their wives, husbands, and children to embark on a mission from which they may not return home. Some veterans return home with injuries that make life very hard, and some return home with illnesses. These people deserve a special day to be acknowledged, and November 11th, Veterans Day, is that day. We live in America, the greatest country in the world. Our country is great because of these veterans, who have unselfishly given their best to defend our freedom. Our country is not great because of the buildings, statues, or roads, or bridges, or rock stars, or industry. It's great because of our amazing veterans and the freedom and peace they strive to protect. So when you wake up on Thursday, November 11th, don't think of it as just another day. Think of it as a very special day dedicated to very special people. And please take time out of your busy schedule to remember and thank the veterans. Thank the veterans for the freedoms we enjoy.
Our next student is Corey Swihart, okay, from 8th grade, third place winner from Claggett Middle School.
Veterans Day is a day of celebration, a public holiday held on the anniversary of the end of World War I. It is to honor all U.S. veterans, and it's a special time to me to recognize what veterans have done for all of us. All veterans who served in the United States Armed Forces during war or peacetime have this day to be thanked. My dad served in the U.S. Army for 4 years. Veterans Day makes me personally thank my dad for all of his hard work. I believe that one day is not enough to thank all of the Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, Navy, and most recently, Space Force. All of these military forces help protect our country and our home. Veterans joined the military because they had the honor and courage they need to stand up for our country. These men and women fight and protect and represent everything we value in life. Life would be completely different without our armed forces. We must recognize all the time veterans have spent to protect us, leaving friends and family behind. You may not realize it, but as we are reminded of 9/11, terrorists remain a concern. Veterans do not pledge themselves to us simply because it is their duty. They believe that this nation is worth fighting for. Their selflessness and their ability to put the entire country before themselves as individuals is incredible. Veterans devote parts of their lives to the improvement of society. Thank you all for your service.
Next is the second place winner for the 8th grade, also from Claggett Middle School, Andrew. Come right up. Just that mic there. Nice as hell.
What Veterans Day means to me. Veterans Day is a day where we honor the men and women who have served in the military to protect the country and our freedoms. It's especially important to me. Both my grandfather and father served our country. My father is a retired United States Marine and grandfather a retired U.S. Navy man. My grandfather served in the Cuban blockade. This was a 13-day confrontation between the United States and the Soviet Union. This was led to Soviet missiles deployment in Cuba. My father served in the Persian Gulf War. This was a war fought between the U.S. and Iraq. This was led to Iraq invading Kuwait on January 17, 1991. My father and grandfather both fought to protect the people of America, as well as our family. They did this by defending our great country and protecting our freedoms of America. While they were on foreign lands, Americans were watching anxiously at home, praying that brave men and women, including my 2 brave family vets, would make it back home safe and sound. Both my father and grandfather tell their stories about their experiences in the military. Their stories are very interesting and make me proud to be their son and grandson. Even that, when they're not bickering over who is better, I'm certain almost every student has a hero somewhere in their family, someone that puts another person's safety first. I'm fortunate to have 2. All veterans should be honored every day, not just on Veterans Day. That is why I thank them every chance I have. Sincerely, Andrew Dyser.
Thank you very much. Okay, next to last, because we have another student here that we missed, but we'll take care of him. First place for the 8th grade is Carson Henning from Claggett Middle School. Carson?
Yes.
Rock and roll.
Okay, so I just go? Okay.
Go ahead.
The triumphs and hardships that veterans have faced are unimaginable for me. To put your life on the line for your country is beyond giving and shows how compassionate you are for what you're fighting for. These people are willing to drop everything to show their own patriotism, risking their own lives for their country. Overall, I think that Veterans Day is a day to feel lucky, to feel happy, and to feel grateful that you're able to be doing what you're doing. Be happy that you're here today. Be happy you're living in a place that you know veterans have fought for and won. To me, this day means a lot to know that others have made it possible for me to accomplish and do things. My great-grandpa was a cook in the Navy during World War II, and to know he was doing it for him, his family, and this nation makes me proud. He always deemed it his proudest accomplishment that he was able to help and support the cause, and for me, it really makes me look up to him and many others. To me, this holiday is more of a gift, to be able to be doing something like this. For all of the people who have suffered, passed, and served, I thank you. Your sacrifices are incredibly bold and courageous, for not only doing something so brave and giving, but for risking your life for ours. I thank you.
And then we miss one, and in the Army we call that a snafu. I won't tell you what that means. Is Griffin here? Come on up here, buddy. Let's see here. Yeah, you're okay. Yeah, take your mask off if you don't mind. Yeah. Okay. Nice and slow.
What Veterans Day means to me. Every year on November 11th, we celebrate Veterans Day, also known as Armistice Day. Veterans Day is about taking time to observe all the people who fought in wars for America. And yes, you probably already know that veterans are people who served in the military. But what does Veterans Day mean to me? Veterans Day is more than just people who served. To me, it is honoring all the men and women that served in our country's forces, risking their lives for the United States of America. It is time to salute all the people that decided to join our armed forces and serve us. It also means to have pride and gratitude for all the people that fought for us. How you can contribute is by the next time you see a veteran in your family or not, thank them for serving your country. They have willingly sacrificed themselves for everybody in America. They have committed themselves to their risk-filled duty. Originally, Veterans Day was to celebrate the end of World War I, but now we can thank the veterans from all the wars they have fought for America. These veterans have fought in cold, harsh, and brutal wars. They deserve to be thanked for all they have done. Veterans were willing to put in countless hours of training and work, but most importantly, they were willing to die for us. Again, we should thank our veterans for all they did.
Thank you very much, buddy. You get your award. Yeah. So again, board members, I think you could be very proud that you have these kinds of students to take care of in this city. It really warms our hearts. Thank you for all the work that you put into it. I know when I was in 6th grade, I don't think I could put the words together that you did tonight. And Ms. Busby, we're going to meet out here. So students, we're going to do a photo shoot out here. If you just want to meet us right outside these doors, because the rest of this meeting is boring, so you won't have it.
I want to
Thank
thank
you.
all of our students for presenting, and you're absolutely right. Your words were very powerful tonight, and to be able to get up in front of everybody and say that. And thank you to all of our family members and veterans for joining us this evening. You are welcome to come back in and join us if you'd like after pictures. I totally understand if you don't want to.
Okay, and at this time, we'll go to Mr. Chambers with our treasurer's report.
I think I'm who Aaron is referring to when he says he doesn't think you would want to listen to this, so I'll just make this quick. The district bank balance decreased by $1.6 million in October to $75.9 million. This is $3.4 million below last year at this time. General fund revenues were below last October by $54,000. The foundation funds account for all of the decrease. General fund expenditures were above last October by $479,000. Personal services, benefits, capital outlay, and other funding account for this increase. The sales tax fund balance is up to $4.049 million. The district spent approximately $28,000 in October, and with the majority of the expenditures on fleet master lease agreement. The district received the last distribution from the county in the amount of $1.072 million. The Recreation Capital Center Capital Fund balance is down to $211,000. The school district spent approximately $14,000 on leisure pool and received a reimbursement from the city of approximately $11,000. The district has received $15,000 in investment income for October. The total collected for the current fiscal year is approximately $140,000 below last year at this time. The district has a general fund true days cash estimate to be about 217 days. This is down from September by 8.9 days and below last year by 25.9 days. Questions? Okay, now for the next fund. I was going to say that school districts are the only government agency in the state of Ohio required to create and submit a 5-year forecast, but Rob's heard this 2 times each year for the past 7 years, so I'm not going to say that. The forecast is created based upon current information and a general number of assumptions, as the forecast is only good the day it's created. Changes made by outside forces will always be an influence on the forecast. There are 3 main sources of revenue that will be affected throughout the forecast. These sources are real property taxes, unrestricted grant in aid, which includes school foundation monies, and investment income. The real property tax revenue fund continues to look stable as a result of the passage of the substitute levy in May of 2018, with collections beginning in 2019. This levy has allowed for a continued funding of $6.6 million to the district without increasing taxes to our community. The passage of the substitute levy has also allowed the district to continue to move forward with additional electives at the middle school and the high school levels, teaming at the middle school, increased inquiry-based learning at all grade levels, and free all-day kindergarten. The school foundation funding has been replaced by the Fair School Funding Plan. The implementation of the full plan was to take 6 years. However, legislators reduced this implementation to 4 years. Then they decided school funding was not for them to hold other or future legislators to, and decided to only fund the first 2 years. So the current forecast shows the implementation for the first 2 years and basically holds funding stagnant throughout the remainder of the forecast. Investment income of the district has been affected as businesses have been affected by the pandemic. The federal government has responded by lowering federal fund rates down to 0.05%. This reduction has made rates for investment repurchases much lower, and together with lower cash balances will lead to lower investment income in the upcoming years. The reduction is reflected throughout the remainder of the forecast, with the thought that a new levy in 24-25 will increase district balances, leading to more investment in the last year of the forecast. The district assumes increases in expenses as the forecast moves forward. We assume personnel will remain with the district as the retirement system has increased the years required for retirement. Purchase service costs are assumed to decrease in the first year as payments to community schools and vouchers are no longer going through the public schools, and they're being paid directly by the state. Costs for tuition and utilities are anticipated to increase, as well as supplies and material costs with return of inflation to the economy. Line 7.02, if you go to the last page there, Ryan, Line 7.02 shows the cash balance for the general fund and the substitute levy. As can be seen, if he increases that ever so slightly, it's the blue line there. As it can be seen, the forecast shows the yearly reduction in the ending balance as programs and services continue to be offered. With the passage of the substitute levy in May of 18, the district stated no additional funding would be requested until it is needed. This current forecast shows the district estimates that it will not need additional funding through an operating levy until the 24-25 school year. The district is in continuous process of determining cost-saving measures in an effort to keep the request for additional funds through an operating levy to this 24-25 year. It is important to note that changes occur, such as the state changes the Fair School Funding Plan or reduces this plan. The 5-year forecast and any additional cost-saving measures will be reviewed further. Finally, with the 5-year forecast, I want you to think of it as a game of cornhole. Last year I used darts, this year I'm going to use cornhole. The first year of the forecast is throwing at the board with a regulated distance of 27 feet. We all could do that. Sometimes you hit the board, sometimes you miss the board, but sometimes you get that cornhole. The second year, the distance is moved back, nearly double. In the third year, nearly triple. As you move further from the current year, the ability to accurately predict becomes more of a lucky throw. History of revenues and expenditures could provide a guide, but just as this past year has shown, there are plenty of outside factors that could have major impacts on even the best forecast. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We always appreciate your forecasts and your accuracy with those. I know that's been something that this board's appreciated over the years, so we appreciate that and look forward to you continuing with that. Next item is number 3, board communication. Would anybody like to start with that? I guess I'll start. I'll jump in. I want to congratulate the 4 individuals that have been elected to the Medina School Board, Mr. West, Mr. Nichols, Mrs. Parkhurst, and Mrs. Pritchard. And I want to welcome you all to the board as you are sworn in next year. I know you all faithfully attended down at Ohio School Board, I believe, last week, and I'm sure we'll hear more about that in the updates. Several of our board members that are going to remain on the board attended, and the other board members did not attend to make room for the new board members to be able to go down for that training. So we're glad that they were able to go down for that. And it's a lot of classes on Sunday and Monday and into Tuesday, I think, at noon. And there's a lot of good festivities that go on there. So we encourage that. We encourage that time goes on, and we're glad that it did. Also, I want to thank Mr. Ross for coming up with this idea for the Veterans Day contest, and for Mrs. Busby and the administration for working on that and putting that together, and Mr. Taylor tonight from the Legion, who is here, if I believe I have that correct, helping to have the students read their essays. It's very moving for us hearing those essays read, and just the fact that we are encouraging the remembrance and the sacrifice that's gone on, and having students have this project and having some award for that and their ability to come to the meeting and speak. So we appreciate that, and I appreciate Mr. Ross funding that project and your donation. So that's very generous and kind of you, and we appreciate your service that you've done and for our country, and we appreciate that. I know probably all of us here have family members that have served different wings of our families, and I know we're all very much into knowing that that's an important holiday and that we respect that. So we thank you for that. As far as other board communications, we continue to move on with committees. I know that we met in the last week or two for policy, and tonight we have, again, a group of policies And I know that we met recently for facilities, and I was very impressed again with Mr. Whitaker's presentation tonight and his leadership that he's giving, and I'm glad that Mr. Sable, you're able to find him to take over our facilities and give great leadership there. So those are my comments. Next. Mr. Ross.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to echo what Mr. Sable said. We're also proud of our kids in the extracurricular program, like the band. They did a great job at their competition, the drama club, and all of our student athletes. And we're extremely proud of them, and hopefully for the football team, we're going to continue the mission, and hopefully we'll be playing on December 3rd in Canton for that championship. So wish them the best, but we're just proud of all the kids that had great success this fall. I too I also want to echo what Mr. Skidmore said. Congratulations to Mrs. Parkhurst on your reelection, and to our newly elected board members, Mrs. Pritchard, Mr. West, and Mr. Nichols. And look forward to working with you all starting on January 1st. And lastly, it was truly an honor to work with American Legion Post 202 in that essay contest. It was some of those essays, when you're reading those, you don't realize those essays are coming from kids, 6th, 7th, or 8th graders. And I'm as sure as I'm sitting here, when I was in 6th grade or 7th or 8th grade, I could never see myself writing something like that. It's just unbelievable. They put a lump in your throat when you read some of those, how just true to your heart that what they did. So I'm proud of all the kids. And Colonel Taylor said we read like 360 of them, and to narrow it down to 9, 3 winners in each category is really tough. So I just want to thank all the kids who participated, both the schools, the middle schools, and American Legion Post 202, and Amy for all of her hard work with that. It was truly an honor. And thank you, Mr. Skidmore, for mentioning that. Appreciate it. That's all I got.
As Mr. Skidmore mentioned, the policy committee met a couple of weeks ago. The curriculum committee was supposed to meet last week, but with OSBA conference going on, we are going to meet on Monday instead. I do want to thank the district and the community for allowing us the opportunity to go down to Columbus for the Ohio School Board Association conference. I attended several sessions regarding board governance and leadership seminars, as well as serving as vice president. I had the opportunity to be our delegate to attend the OSBA business meeting. Several of us also attended the Alliance Luncheon. If you recall, we're members of the Alliance for High Quality Education, and they had a luncheon and business meeting. They had some speakers there from the Primary and Secondary Education Committee, Senator Andrew Brenner and Representative Gail Manning. And as expected, they were vague when talking about education, even though they're on the committee, non-committal towards school funding and whatnot. So I encourage everyone, if you care about school funding, to contact our local legislators and share your opinions with them. I also want to just echo Mr. Sable, Mr. Skidmore, Mr. Ross's comments about all the exciting things that are happening right now in our district, whether it be the arts or athletics or academics. I did have the opportunity to attend the musical on Saturday evening, and it knocked my socks off. I was just so impressed by our students, the singing, the music. There was the set, just everything. For a moment, I thought I was transported to downtown Cleveland. It was phenomenal. So they just did such a great job. And I didn't find out till after there were no seniors. They were all freshmen, sophomores, and I think 2 juniors. So just amazing that young talent that we have in our district. So thank you to everyone. It's such an exciting time to be a Bee right now.
it's going to be a little bit redundant, so sorry about that. But yeah, I think there's a lot of great things happening. I guess just to kind of pivot on the observation about the students, the essays from today. I know, the seeds of that respect and admiration for our veterans are being sown at the elementary level as well. And so I know even without formal programs like this, a lot of the teachers in those buildings are focusing on that and kind of taking a day away, which is hard to do, to take a day away from your curriculum. But I think it's worth doing, and I think some of the respect that we see coming through in those essays is a product of the investment of time that people at the younger levels are taking to instill that in our students. So kudos to everybody really in the district who sets our students up for success on the field, off the field, in the classroom, and in community engagement like that, because seeing that kind of respect and admiration paid to the people in our community who deserve it is always inspiring. So, and then also congratulations to our new board members. Goes out to Ms. Pritchard and Mr. West and Mr. Nichols and Mrs. Parkhurst. So it's been my privilege to serve here for the last couple of months. It will also be my privilege to hand the responsibility over to them in a few months. So thank you.
I don't know if you folks left me anything else to say. Again, I just want to, the speakers, our essay winners, it definitely hits very close to home because my father fought in World War II. My father-in-law, a number of my immediate family have served. So to hear each and every one of them and what it means to them is definitely, it does really hit close to home. And Ron, I just want to thank you too for your service as well to our country. Congratulations to our newly elected board members and Mrs. Parkhurst, your reelection. There's a lot of work ahead of the district for sure with the upcoming redistricting and strategic plan. So definitely I encourage the community to be as involved with everything because it is truly your school district. So, and Mr. Whitaker took my recap of the facilities committee meeting that we had last week. And again, good luck to our battling bees. What an exciting time between our academics, our extracurriculars, our sports. It is definitely a great time. It's an exciting time to be a bee.
Okay. The next item, it looks like, is our public participation, item F. And we had one person register their intent. Jocelyn, if you would like to go ahead and come up to the mic. And while you're coming up, I'll read the rules. Attendees shall register their intention to participate in the public portion of the meeting upon their arrival at the meeting. After those that have registered have spoken, if time allows, Board President will ask for public participation from other attendees. Please state your name, address, and affiliation. Please keep comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. No participant may speak on more than one topic on the same topic unless all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. And then there's the rules that are printed in the agenda. Good evening. Welcome.
Hello. All the kids are gone, so I'm not going to be as nice as you guys. I'm a little horrified at this last election. Not one single conservative won. And West is like the first time I've heard that name. I didn't even see signs. I was out and about, knocking on doors, trying to advocate for some conservative advocacy for our children on the board, which would have been nice. So I'm just a little horrified. We were talking about our military. My husband is active duty military. He's serving right now. And not one person mentioned rights being violated today. We have political prisoners in DC from January 6th that are being held without a speedy trial, which I believe that's the Fourth Amendment or I forget, maybe the Sixth Amendment, I forgot, for peacefully assembly, which is our First Amendment. Our freedom of speech is constantly being violated by, for conservatives like myself, our freedom of religion, the countless rights are being violated. We're all adults here. Those are the realities of things. So it's a little hard to be all chipper and say congratulations to Parkhurst, which has just been a mask puppet up there the entire time, just does nothing but...
I'm sorry. The rules require that you address your comments to the board president. Please don't individual comment board members, please. I'll give you a warning. Let's go ahead and proceed.
So I'm just, like I said, I'm horrified that we don't have any more conservatives representing us after the end of the year. So I'm going to keep coming to these board members. I haven't been here for a while. I was sick, and then I guess the last time you guys ended the board meeting rather early, so I missed that one too. But I will be here advocating for our children, because countless facts are coming out about these masks and how they don't work. I mean, we've been wearing them for a couple years now, and the facts are coming out, and you guys continue to wear them, which is a little concerning to me. So, happy late Veterans Day.
Okay, thank you. Next item is the action items, and we'll hand it over to our treasurer for item G1.
Yes, if it pleases the board. Treasurer's report. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the October 2021 Treasurer's report. Item number 2, supplemental to the 2021-2022 permanent appropriations. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the following supplementals to the 2021-2022 permanent appropriations. We have food service. What we have with the food service is monies are not being spent by our current food service. I want to call it their general fund. The monies are all coming in from the federal fund. So we have to take the appropriations that we had and decrease those and increase the federal funds, because our food service director feels that we'll get roughly $2.6 million there. Our uniform school supplies, this is to go ahead and give them the balance based on the number of students they have in each of the buildings. We also have our additional funds for ESSERS. You have ESSERS Homeless and ESSERS Early Childhood Services. I also added in, and I don't know if you got the email late, I also added in the auxiliary services. These were with the final expenditure. We have to transfer monies back to the state because our auxiliaries did not expend all their funds. We have title funds here, which are carryovers from last year's monies to be placed into this year's appropriations. And I believe that's all that's on there. Next, we have item number 3. It's a fund-to-fund transfer. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the following fund-to-fund transfer. We're moving monies from the general fund to the transportation energy bond. We paid the transportation energy bond here at the beginning of October, so these monies are in repayment to the bond fund itself. Item number 4, resolution accepting the amounts and rates. It's recommended that the Board of Education adopt the resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor for tax year 2021, collection year 2022. This resolution you passed back in March. However, with increase in valuations from the county auditor, they came and reduced our bond levy so that the taxpayers of the district will be paying a little bit less because there's more taxpayers to pay. So that's a good thing for our taxpayers, and I believe it's reduced from 2.9 mils to 2.7 mils. Finally, item number 5, we have a resolution accepting the engagement of Stiefel Nicholas and Company. It's recommended that the Board of Education adopt the resolution accepting the engagement letter of Stiefel Nicholas and Company and Incorporated to confirm underwriter engagement relating to the potential refundings of the district's Series 2013, Series 2015, general obligation bonds, and Series 2015 certificates of participation. When we're talking about refundings, what we're looking for is reducing the costs of principal and interest over the remaining years of the bonds. So the underwriter is the main person that helps us get these bonds out to the public. And finally, we have our 5-year forecast. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the November 2021 5-year forecast and notes to comply with the State of Ohio Department of Education's requirement.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the treasurer's action items.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. That item 5, then, Mr. Chambers, is more like, in vernacular, we're all used to like a refinance of a mortgage almost, or getting a better interest rate. And that's great that the rates are so favorable right now. And hopefully that'll cause some savings as that's investigated. But you have to do the resolution before they can investigate it.
Have to do the
with us.
resolution before they can. And unlike a mortgage, which you could basically do on a yearly basis if you wanted to, the bonds only have certain callable periods, and we have not hit the callable period for these bonds as of yet. They're coming, starting in 2022.
Okay, so that's when they will discuss it at that
Correct.
point. Okay, very good. Any other questions or comments from the board?
I do, please. Mr. Chambers, regarding the 5-year forecast, you had mentioned the fair school funding is going to take place in 2 years. What school year will we first see the additional funds from the fair school
We're
funding?
supposed to start seeing additional funds this year. We have not seen them yet. The state has not distributed them yet. So we will see them here for a half a year in the rest of the school year, January through June. The first full year that we'll see them in is 22-23.
Okay. And just to clarify as well, I think, were we at 6,200 per student, and now it's going to go up to 7,000, is that right?
Okay, that's debatable. That depends on who you want to listen to. We were at 6,020 per student, of which the local taxpayers were paying roughly 68%. Now we're going to be anywhere between 6,800 and 7,200. Again, local taxpayers' share is going to be around 50% once the fair school funding formula is implemented completely. At this point, only 14% of the fair school funding formula is implemented. So that's why if you look at the forecast, you'll see that the first year we're at around, I believe, a total of 20 million, the second year around 21 million, 22 million. And in the second year of the funding formula, it'll be around 33% implemented. And it was supposed to go up to 50 to 80 and then 100%. And again, the state has only allowed for 2 years so that new legislators could either vote on or act on or do something with the funding formula, which has never occurred before with any other funding formula that's been out there with the state. So,
Thank you.
There's no other questions from the board. If you could call roll, please.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Harrison.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Sable?
Number 1 is donations. It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following donations to the Medina City Schools. I do want to point out the multiple donations to the Medina High School as well as the AI Root Middle School Makerspace Labs. The high school donations in particular are important as this is the first year of the Makerspace at the high school, so we're in the process of beefing up the makerspace area. So that is extremely appreciative and supportive of that program. Also like to thank the Rosses for their generous $750 donation for the Veterans Day essay contest at Claggett and AI Root. So thank you to Ron and Kathy for supporting that important program. In addition, I'd also like to point out the donation from 3M Office Supplies, a local company supporting Garfield Elementary School with over $5,000 worth of donations of office supplies, and they have done that on almost an annual basis to support Garfield Elementary School. We have 2 field trips on the agenda for this evening. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following overnight field trips in compliance with Policy 2340. The first one is an educational service learning trip from Student Council. This is to the Dominican Republic for 2023. This trip is obviously, hopefully by 2023, we're in the clear with all that's been going on, and it's pending participation, interest from the students, as well as fundraising. Also, the state cross-country championships, which have already occurred and were pre-approved by myself prior to that trip. Next up, we have a first reading of several policies. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following revised policies for first reading. The policies will be presented to the board for final approval and potential adoption at the December 2021 Board of Education regular meeting. All of these policies have gone through the policy committee. These are all just regular updates to each of these policies. Number 4 is contracts, and this is, as Mr. Whitaker had discussed earlier this evening, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the contracts with Taylor Consulting Group for listed roof replacement projects to include evaluation, design, and quality observation services. So this will be the first step in moving forward towards putting bids out on roofing projects for this upcoming summer. Our hope or plan is to put bids out sometime after the winter break. Service agreement. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the service agreement with ComDoc for District HP laser printer fleet service and supplies for a 60-month term. We currently have a contract with ComDoc for District HP laser printer fleet service that went into effect, I want to say 3-4 years ago. We're looking at extending this contract, which will bring new machines into the district and also lower the monthly fee. So we get updated machines, we extend our contract, and we decrease the monthly cost. And the other perk that Mr. Whitaker shared with me that this gives us is we're going to have consistency in the kind of machine we have across the district, so that the parts, the ink cartridges and things like that can be used between the various machines, so it's more consistent. And this next one, I think, is a big one. I appreciate it. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the revisions to facility use costs for the Medina City Schools Use of School Facilities Rental Program Guide. This was another initiative by Mr. Whitaker, and he shared this with our facilities committee when they met last week or the week before. When he came in, he found inconsistencies between the buildings in terms of utilized rates and forms that were in place. So he spent some time researching what the district rates should be across the buildings, including the high school, middle schools, and the elementaries, and revised the forms into a single district form. The high school is kind of, as he puts it, its own animal. Simply because of the facilities that are available there, as well as the time frames that the building is available in terms of custodians in the building and things like that. So I think for streamlining this, it's really going to make things much easier in terms of working with outside agencies, in terms of renting our facilities and ensuring that there's consistency when that does occur. And the last is personnel. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following personnel recommendations pending completion of all documentation as required by the Department of Human Resources. And these here are all fairly regular business. We do have some co-curricular contracts on the agenda for winter coaching assignments as we work to finish up the hiring as we're heading very close here into the winter athletic seasons.
Okay. Thank you for those action items. Do we have a motion to accept those?
I'll make a motion to accept action items for the superintendent. H.
Thank you, Mrs. Pavlik. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Parkhurst. Do we have questions or comments?
Mr. Skidmore, I just have one quick question. Mr. Sable, will the school facilities rental program guide be posted on the district website, and where would it be able to be found?
It will be on the district website, and it'll be on the business office site.
Thank you.
My comment, as far as the facilities, and I think you said this tonight, but I want to reiterate it. I know we said it in our facilities meeting, that it's not that the district tries to ever make money on renting the facilities. It's merely trying to pay some of the cost for those facilities, and probably not even the full cost for those facilities. If you were running we're not a for-profit. We're for the public and you try to make adjustments if they're one of our clubs or something and that sort of thing within the district. So
Absolutely. There's costs for cleaning and maintenance of that facility, as well as heating. Heating or cooling, normally we turn that down in off hours. So there are costs associated with rental of facilities.
Good. And then on the copier document, and I don't know if Ryan can upload that, but it looks like there's that first page. It looks like our payment's $11,500 per month for 60 months, and then we can do up to 1 million copies at 0.0027 cents a page, and then up to 18,000 color copies at 0.029, so 3 cents almost per color. But I just am saying that because for some reason on the copy I'm looking at, it's really hard to see that. You can see it on page 2 and 3 better, but the first page you can't. But maybe we can correct that. But again, we can see the pertinent things on this contract, and I'm comfortable with it if you all are.
And we can get a clearer version uploaded for records.
Yeah, I noticed that was also on page 3, and yeah, on page 3 as well.
Any other questions or comments from the board? And we're hoping that you guys can do that field trip to Dominican in 2023. That would be neat if the kids would be able to have that experience. So hopefully things will continue to open up for that. So if you could call roll, please.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Thank you.
And at this time, I don't believe we have a need for executive session that I've heard. So if we don't have a need for executive session, I would make a motion that we adjourn.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Please call roll.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Harrison?
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.